What advice would you give CEOs, leaders that are feeling overwhelmed by this rapid AI technology landscape, which is changing so fast? What would be your advice to them about overwhelm?
Yeah, I hear this all the time. I know I need to do something, but I have no idea where to start. I get that a lot from CEOs and business leaders. And I understand. Like, I read about 2 hours every morning just so I can come on podcasts and kind of feel like I know what I'm talking about, right? That's how fast the world is changing right now. And so, the single piece of advice I would give to those folks is find your killer use case. What single killer use case would move the needle and would impact your bottom line in a major way? Now, that's just to get started, because it's not about sniping individual use cases, pulling in all sorts of different tools, several for each one. You need to be thinking about this as a platform, as a tool that can handle a lot of use cases, but that's overwhelming. So don't start there. Just find that one use case. As an example, a defense contractor. They spend about 80 to 100 hours responding to RFPs. That's a big part of their business. Getting awarded an RFP with an SBIR is about $3 million for phase one and two of revenue for the company, right? Now, what if you could double or triple your RFP response output? If you can maintain even close to the same close rate, that
Yeah,
has a direct revenue line, right? You're talking about
yeah,
doubling or tripling your revenue, and you haven't hired anybody. You didn't
yeah,
hire someone. You're just massively boosted the productivity of the team that responds to these RFPs.
yeah,
Oh, and then, so that's your killer use case, right? Oh, and then they say, oh, we could also use this for our monthly reporting and our annual reports. And would this do market research? And then it proliferates, right, through the organization. It gets people thinking. Once they see that one use case and how impactful it can be, that's when you start to get buy-in, because there's always going to be people who are afraid that this is going to take their job. And I'm sorry, but some people, it's going to take their job, or rather, a job that they might have gotten that no longer exists because they're not
yeah,
hiring for it anymore. So you have to show the value to them. It's not about taking your job, it's about boosting your output and your quality. And once they see it that way, wow, this makes my day a lot easier and I can get them way faster. And you start to see buy in. So that's at the worker level, at the knowledge worker level, at the executive level. It's the same thing. It's always been, and I've been talking about this since I was 21. It's always about ROI. You have to calculate the return on the investment of your killer use case. And then you need to make sure you're tracking that. So once it deploys, are we hitting our KPIs? Are we
yeah,
getting our ROI? If we're not, something is off and we need to fix it, right? That's how you get the CFOs and the CTOs and the CEOs on board, is making sure that ROI is calculated ahead of time and is tracked closely, and you prove it, you show it in the P&L that we got a massive return on our investment in this AI tool.
Who is your ideal client? Who are the people that you're targeting when it comes to marketing?
Yeah. So broadly, it's mid-market companies that deal in confidential information. Okay, but that's really broad, right? What we're seeing a lot of interest in is really three sectors, and that would be financial services, number one, law, and defense. The reason that these are big is not only are they dealing in very sensitive information, these people are, and they're regulated, right?
Yeah,
And a data breach is a company ender in
yeah,
some cases, right? So they really care about this. And then they need to be a certain size. You'll notice I'm not talking about SMBs right now. And the reason I'm not is that right now the hardware is still expensive to run something like this, right? Even if we had a cheaper price point, and then then it would be, oh, but you got to tack on another 2 grand a month to pay for your GPUs, or this thing's going to be slow as molasses. And that's a bit of a bridge too far. And I
right.
find they don't have the technical infrastructure and their data's a mess and things like that. So they need to have reached a certain level of maturity, call it 15, 20 million in revenue, something like that. And they need to be dealing in confidential information. And typically, we find there's two ways in, there's bottom up and top down. Like in the case of the law firm, it was a patent attorney that was like, I just want to use this for my job, and sold it to upper management. And that's the easier path, actually, is to get an internal champion, because they see the value, they understand day to day what it's going to do, how it's going to impact their work. It's a harder pitch to try and sell that to someone who doesn't do that work, like a CEO, right? They might not use it all that much. It's the knowledge workers that they employ that are really going to get the most benefit. And so I do love finding an internal champion that just says, hey, could your thing help me with blank? And often it's if you're ingesting a lot of content or you're creating a lot of content, whether that be patent applications or contracts or wealth planning or responding to RFPs, like all of that, then this is a good large language models. They're really good at words. That's the whole point of a language model, right? So reading and writing words is where you're going to see the biggest impact.
Where do you see AI going for businesses specifically? How's the next impact that's going to have in? I've got here the next 5 to 10 years. I feel 10 years is almost too long a point to really go to. Like the next few years, then, how do you see AI developing in the next few years?
Yeah, you go beyond 5 years and you're writing science fiction, but
Yeah. It's moving so
it's
fast,
probably
isn't
going
it? It
to happen, but
literally is.
it seems like almost silly right now. So 3 to 5 years, here's my vision for
Yep.
businesses.
Yeah.
Okay, so these enterprises and now mid-market companies are rolling out these tools. Eventually, small businesses will as well. They've got some nice use cases. They're seeing the value. They keep connecting other systems to it. They keep finding new use cases. And they say, oh, could this thing like update my CRM for me? Sure, of course it can. We've got model context protocol, which might be a little technical for users, but MCP is a huge deal. It's basically like when REST APIs became a thing and connected all of the platforms on the internet. MCPs are doing the same thing, but for large language models. And oh, could this thing organize my emails? So when I have 30 minutes to do emails, it'll tell me the most important ones that I need to respond to. Yeah, I can. And so 3 to 5 years, what I envision is that when a knowledge worker wakes up and sits down at their laptop, they go to their AI platform. That's work. They don't log into their CRM. They don't log into their QuickBooks. They don't log in anywhere other than right here. And they can still do all the same things, but it creates this wonderful interface for the rest of your business. It's almost like when ERPs were, they still are very important, but the dream of the ERP was, oh, I can have one place where I can control my whole business. Okay, that's true, but the experience is awful. And I've never met a single person that says our ERP is awesome. Imagine it as like a next generation of that, where this is your control center. This is where you work. I need to see quarterly reports for this. We need to generate our 10K. I need to do emails. And you have this one interface that doesn't replace all your systems. It just makes them easy to work with. That's where I see this going, is everybody has their own place in this AI ecosystem that companies are creating, and that's where they go to do their jobs.
So they're looking at dashboards, they're looking at summaries, they're looking at reporting. All of this is within, you're logging into the AI to see all of this, to then be able to respond to the data, to the reporting, to the email, so you feel everyone's going to be logging into AI rather than into Salesforce, into email, into whatever, like HubSpot or whatever it is. We're going to be logging into an AI that gives us all the information we need.
That's precisely it. And to go back to what I said at the very beginning, that's why self-hosted is so important. That's why SaaS can't fix this. It might be able to solve a use case or two for you right now, but you're going to get stuck and it's not going to be able to do the things that you need it to do. You need to own it, because it is going to be the control center of your entire business within the next three years. And I'm up on my soapbox.
Yeah.
Out in the air, trying to get that word out.
Is AI going to be a bubble economically? Or
The
even
speed.
aspects of it?